guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I will be reviewing a deck from 2018. Now, I'm going to be reviewing the last Thunder decks after this, but I figured I'd review a pretty old deck, and that is Leaf Charge. Leaf Charge is one of my favorite decks. It certainly hasn't aged well thanks to all the fire types in the Field deck format, but it's still pretty fun to use. Starting off the deck, we got 2 Sceptile. Its ability isn't useful. It's useful in Expanded and Standard, but nothing too great. And the only thing it's really good against is Stormcaller, and that's about it. Its attack is what the entire deck plays around. Powerful Storm. This attack does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to all your Pokemon. This deck's pretty good because you're able to do high damage and have good energy acceleration. So this deck's certainly great. It used to be the best deck in Fiend format. But anyways, Sceptile is 140 HP, which is alright. I would rather have it at least 150, but I'm not going to care too much. It costs 1 energy and you do 20 damage. This attack does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to all your Pokemon. So if you have 12 energy attached to everything, you do 240. So it's very easy to get high numbers. However, if you have a Pokemon that has a lot of energy attached to it, your opponent's going to go for that. So this deck suffers against bench damage because this deck doesn't have too many good bench damage options. Anyways, Sceptile's pretty good, and this is what the entire deck's based around. Next up is 2 Grovyle. 80 HP, 1 Grass Energy, Leaf Blade, Flip a Coin. If heads, this attack does 40 more damage. You can do 60 for 1 energy, which is pretty good. However, that's about it. It's just pretty useful before you get Sceptile out. The final Pokemon in the Sceptile line is Trico. For 1 Grass Energy, you do 10 damage. For 1 Grass Energy and a Colorless, you do 20 damage. Overall, Trico's basically just there to evolve. Next up is Obomasnow, the ability Blessings of the Frost. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may attach a Grass Energy card from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. That's a lot of yours, but this card's pretty good for energy acceleration. I would recommend having 1 on your bench. 2 is alright if you want maximum energy acceleration, but you're pretty vulnerable. I would recommend putting a lot of energy on this so it can retreat, and the attack isn't bad either. It costs a lot, but I would recommend putting it on this since it's decently tanky. Overall, Obomasnow's just pretty good. It has decent energy acceleration, and it's really fun to use. Next up is 2 Snover. For a Grass Energy and a Colorless, you do 20 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a fighting Pokemon, this attack does 40 more damage. It's kind of situational, only against Twilight Rogue, Seraphetch, and Towering Heights is this good against, but overall Snover's just to be evolved, that's it. Next up is 2 Manectric. As a free retreat and a Steel Resistance, which the Steel Resistance is situational but does help against Zamazenta, and the free retreat's great. Manectric has 110 HP, which is pretty good, and its ability Electric Start. If you go second and this Pokemon is in your hand when you're setting up to play, you may put it face down as your active Pokemon or on your bench. Now, if you get this in your active turn 2, you almost win, because your opponent won't have too many ways of setting up, because there's not too many Pokemon that do really good things on their first turn. So Manectric's really good if you can get it set up. If you get a Manectric on your starting hand, then either you win or you have a great advantage. And Double Charge for 1 Electric Energy does 40 damage, which is alright. And you may attach up to 2 basic energy cards from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. It's very good for this deck's central theme, which is powering up Sceptile's Powerful Storm. And Manectric's is overall decently good. This is probably my favorite card from the deck. It's not the best, but it's definitely my favorite. Next up is 3 Electrike. Now, for 1 Electric Energy, you do 20 damage. That's about it. One thing I forgot to mention is that this deck is a great counter because grass types deal with past water type decks and flying type decks like Towering Heights. And the electric side, so Manectric and Lanturn, deals with the newer water decks and does some pretty good things against Zamazenta's Clover Knight, which is pretty annoying because you have a lot of defense. I'll get into that when I review it. But overall, Electrice's just pretty good. Next up is to Lanturn. Ability Energy Grounding. When one of your Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you may move a basic energy card from that Pokemon to this Pokemon. Pretty good for keeping Sceptile's theme, and access a free EXP share, which kind of combos with this attack. You may discard all lightning energy from this Pokemon. If you do, this attack does 70 more damage. It does 70 base damage, so if you discard all electric energy, you do 140. I would recommend putting a grass energy on it, so that way you don't have to take 3 turns putting electric energy on it. However, Lanturn's really good against water-type decks from Sword and Shield because of the electric weakness. And overall, Lanturn's just pretty good. Chinchou for 60 HP. Now, 1 colorless energy for 10 damage, 1 lightning energy, and 1 colorless for 10 damage. This attack does 10 damage to your opponent's bench Pokemon. So you hit 3 Pokemon for 10 damage, which is a decent payoff. Overall, I feel like this card deserves its spot as a pretty good card. However, it's only really good early game. You either want to have a Manectric start or a Chinchou start in the early game. Now we're starting to get onto the normal type Pokemon. This has 120 HP, so it's decently good, and it has the ability Instruct. Once during your turn before your attack, you may draw cards if you have 3 cards in your hand. It's a good way to keep a consistent hand. It's not the best thing in the world, but wish it was. You may draw cards if you have 4 or 5, but 3's fine enough. And for free energy, you do 60 damage. This attack does 20 more damage times the amount of energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, for cards that need 4 energy to use their attacks, Oranguru is a perfect counter because you do 140 with Kukui Boost to do 160, which means that you can one-shot anything, almost. So overall, Oranguru is just pretty good if you can get it set up. I would much rather use it as a draw than an attacker. However, its attack isn't too bad. Next up is Furfrou. For 1 energy, you do 20 damage, and you may draw cards if you have 5 cards in your hand. It's decent early game, but that's about it. Other than Manectric, Dunsparce is the best early game start. Strike and Run. Search your deck for up to 3 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Then shuffle your deck. If you put any Pokemon to your bench in this way, you may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. I would rather keep it into active because of Sudden Flash. You do 10 damage and you flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. This can help be a stall early game while you're getting your Sceptiles and everything else set up. Overall, Dunsparce is just a really good start. Next up is to Copycat. You shuffle your hand into your deck. Then you draw a card for each card in your opponent's hand. I would much rather play Cynthia, but Copycat isn't a bad card. Overall, Copycat's pretty nice, and if you have a dead draw, Copycat. If you have a low hand, Copycat. If your opponent has a high hand, Copycat. Copycat has a lot of options, but it's more situational than anything else in my personal opinion, but Copycat's pretty nice to have in a deck like this. You got 1 Taint and Liza. You can choose 1. Shuffle your hand into your deck, then you draw 5 cards. I go with the first one the most. However, that's just me. And switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. If you have a bad hand, use the first option. If one of your Pokemon's gonna die, or you need to do a big brain play, do the second option. Taint and Liza allows for a lot of variety that is not in Fiend decks. It allows for so much variety that overall it's just really good. The variety it gives is just great. This deck plays 1 Lily. You draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. If it's your first turn, draw cards until you have 8 cards in your hand. I said earlier that this card isn't too good. It's fine, but it's not that good in terms of like how it works. With the new Sword and Shield rules, Lily took a hard hit because only on your second turn it's viable. Next up is 1 Guzma. You switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with your active Pokemon. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Overall, Guzma's really good in a theme deck. The only The only other deck that plays Guzma is Blazing Volcano. This is one of the cards that's kept Leaf Charge still relevant after 3 years of constant fire decks in the meta. Overall, Guzma's really good, and it can allow for some of the biggest brain plays in the theme deck format. Guzma's great because it's a boss's orders and the free switch. Use Guzma when... I would recommend using Guzma if one of your Pokemon are dying, or you need to get something out of the way. Overall, Guzma's just great. Next up is 2 Professor Kukui. You draw 2 cards, and during this turn, your Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage. It combos really well with Sceptile and Lanturn, as you can do really more damage. You can do a lot of damage standing up for KOs and other things, so overall, Professor Kukui's pretty good. Next up is Lady. You search your deck for up to 4 basic energy cards, reveal them, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Combos decently well with Manectric. Manectric's pretty good in order to combo with Lady. But overall, just this card's pretty good. It combos with Manectric, and it just combos really well with the deck overall. I know I said that a lot, but it's just really good. Next up is Howl. You draw 3 cards. That's about it. Wish it was better. Next up is 2 Nest Ball. You search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench. Then you shuffle your deck. Really good to thin out deck space and to get basic Pokemon out. It combos well with Dunsparce if you want to get a full bench for the rest of the game. Next up is Timer Ball. You flip 2 coins. For each head, search your deck for an evolution Pokemon. Reveal it and put it to your hand. Really good for getting your Pokemon out if you need it. However, there's only one, so use it wisely. Next up is 1 Ultra Ball. You discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then you shuffle your deck. Leaf Charge, maybe Hydro Fury, Blazing Volcano, and Stormcaller. Those are the only 4 decks with Ultra Ball. So it's really good. You can get whatever Pokemon you want. You can discard cards that you don't need. Combos decently well with Oranguru. Overall, it's just really good. Next up is 1 Switch. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Allows for some big brain plays, and overall, just really good. 1 EXP Share. This is the tool version of Lanturn, and Lanturn's the Pokemon version of EXP Share. Overall, EXP Share is pretty good. Next up is 1 Rescue Structure. You can choose one. Put a Pokemon from your discard pile to your hand, and shuffle 3 Pokemon from your discard pile into your deck. Rescue Structure overall is just really good. Next up is 11 Grass Energy. It's basically the entire purpose of this deck, because it's a grass type deck. And that's about it. It's just combos well with Sceptile, combos well with Obama Snow because its ability, and it's just pretty good. This deck plays 9 Lightning Energy, combos well with Manectric and Lanturn. That's about it. In a best case scenario, this is what you want your early game to be. You want Manectric just to get the deck up, Chinchou for bench damage, and Dunsparce for search. Overall, this is the best scenario for early game, and it's pretty good. This is your mid game. You want Gulfile for damage, Obama Snow, Manectric for energy acceleration, and Lanturn for damage. Now, Lanturn's going to be your main attacker in the mid game. That's about it. Just your mid game. You want to use Lanturn a lot. Here are all the cards you want for your late game. Sceptile for damage, Obama Snow and Manectric for energy acceleration, Lanturn for damage, and Oranguru for draw and damage. Overall, your late game has a lot of things going for it, and that's pretty good. Your best cards in this deck are Three-Way Tie. Sceptile because you can do massive amounts of damage, and because its ability is decent. Lanturn because it acts as an EXP share, which covers with Sceptile, and you got good damage. And Manectric because its ability is great. It combos well with Sceptile because its attack, and it does pretty good damage early game. Here, this is the best cards in the deck. It's a three-way tie. I would say Lanturn's better than Manectric, but Manectric can be argued that it's better than Lanturn because of its ability. In Sceptile, it's the main card of the deck. These are the 3 best cards in the deck, and I can't decide which one's better. You could let me know in the comments, but here's what I personally think are the 3 best cards in the deck. This is the worst card in the deck. It only acts as a draw supporter, and that's about it. Here are the pros and cons to this deck. The pros are, you got good damage, you got good energy acceleration, you got good draw, you got good search. Overall, you got pretty good of everything. Your cons are that you don't really have too many tankers. You don't have, your draw isn't the best. It's good, but not the best. Your Pokemon, you don't really have too many attackers because Lanturn does low damage. You know, Bomb Snow takes way too long to charge up. You got high energy costs, and the mechanic takes a lot of energy in order for it to work. Because the main idea of this deck is that you want to put energy onto your Pokemon in order for Sceptile to start sweeping. But you need a lot of energy in that to work. Because Sceptile, it only does 20 damage, and it does 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to all your Pokemon. So it takes at least 6 to 10 energy in order for this deck to start doing damage. And that's the one thing that it struggles with. It's just if you lose one of your Pokemon with a lot of energy on it, and that's where the struggle with bench damage comes from, you are in a really bad spot if Sceptile is your only attacker. I'll probably make another video on how to play this and how to counteract the weakness, but that's its main weakness. Its main gimmick is really hard to set up. You want to use Sceptile against water-type decks, and you want to use Lanturn against newer water-type decks, and here's what the score means. 1 to 2 means all cons, no pros. 3 to 4 means many cons, barely any pros. 5 to 6 means it's pretty average. 7 to 9 means that there's many pros and barely any cons, and 10 means that there's no cons and all pros. F means that the deck's unplayable. D means that the deck's barely playable. C means that the deck's average. B means that the deck's good. A means that the deck's amazing, and S means that the deck's perfect. No deck's gonna have an S. I give this deck an 8. It's pretty good. Everything you want to build a deck is in this deck because its main gimmick works. It's hard to set up, but it works. What do I give this deck in terms of a grade? I give it a B-. It's not the best deck, but it's miles better than Lightning Loop. Lightning Loop is one of the worst decks in the main theme deck format, and I'm really glad that this deck's better than it. This is the full deck list. There's a lot of cards. The cluster of normal type Pokemon is Oranguru, Furfru, and Dunsparce. And the 2 different balls are Timer Ball and Ultra Ball right there. Overall, there's a lot of cards in this deck, and I really like it. Thank you guys for watching. There's going to be a little of editing done to this video, maybe some voiceovers, but that's about it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.